Okay, let's take a look at exercise 21-8. It's not part of your homework, but it's very similar to 21-7, so I think this will be helpful for you. So in this case, Boston Railroad decided to use the high-low method and operating data from the past 6 months to estimate the fixed and variable components of their transportation costs. So that's a mixed cost, so it has elements of both. The activity base used by Boston Railroad is a measure of railroad operating activity termed gross ton miles, so weight over distance. It's total number of tons multiplied by the miles moved. So I've got this 6 months of data here, and what I want to find is the high point and the low point in terms of activity, not in terms of dollars. So the high activity I can see here was in the month of February when they did 1 million gross ton miles. So I marked that as the high point. And then what I followed over here, these dots, I'm looking at the cost associated with that high point, so 2.7 million. Then I look for the low point, that's 400,000. So the low point, we had a cost of 1,440,000. Now it could be that maybe I have another month that's lower, so I don't want to pick the low cost. I want the cost associated with the low point. That's important. Some students make that mistake. So we're going to use the high-low method to figure out what's going on here. So I want to just kind of demonstrate something for you really quickly here. So if we graphed this information, so if I had dollars on the side here, and I had gross ton miles here, I could go ahead and plot all of the data points on there. I'm not going to do it, but I could plot all of the data points and I would get an array of data points here for different months. Okay, and it would look something in that kind of a pattern, where the more gross ton miles we have, the higher the cost we have. So what the high-low does is it picks the high point, in this case maybe it's right here, and the low point, and I'm going to put another point here so it looks a little better. So the low point here in gross ton miles, so I'm looking at the low and I'm looking at the high, and what's going on with this formula is it's going to put a line through those 2 points. I'll see if I can do it freehand here. So it finds a line that goes through those 2 data points that approximates where we're at. So what I'm going to end up with is an intercept, which is kind of low right here. That's going to be my fixed cost. That's the fixed cost, even if I don't operate. And then the vertical distance, the change in distance here, is going to be the variable cost. So when it goes up, how much does that go up by? The total cost is this line. It's the variable cost plus the fixed cost. So let's go ahead and solve it. You don't need to do that for your homework. I just wanted to kind of give you a visualization. So here I've written down what the high point is and the low point, okay? And so the formula is going to be the cost associated with the high point minus the cost associated with the low point. That's the vertical distance between those two. And I'm going to divide that by the high quantity or the high volume minus the low volume. So in that case, I get a difference in cost of 1,260,000, a difference in gross ton miles of 600,000. So I get $2.10. I'm going to write that per gross ton mile. Okay, that's my variable cost. If I go up 10 gross ton miles, it should go up 10 times $2.10 or $21. So now I can plug that back into my formula to figure out what my fixed cost is. And remember the formula, the total cost is equal to the variable cost plus the fixed cost when I have a cost that has both elements like that. So I can rearrange that using algebra. I could subtract VC from both sides to get a fixed cost, or FC, by itself. So restating this formula, I get FC equals, or fixed cost equals, total cost minus variable cost. So now I can take either one of these 2 data points and I can calculate that to figure out what my fixed cost is. So I pick the high data point here, and I could use either one. So I have a total cost of $2.7 million. And I subtract the variable cost, which we determined was $2.10 per gross ton mile. Oops, so 210 times 1 million, okay, that was the volume at that level. So that's 2.7 million minus 2.1 million. So my fixed cost is $600,000. So now I could pick any point I want, and that was the end of the whole, let's see, let me check the homework here. Yeah, that was the end of the homework. But as an example, if my boss asked me, well, what would our cost for transportation be if we did 1.1 million gross ton miles? I could plug that into the equation and I can determine that it should be approximately 2,910,000. So I can use this formula once I have some data and I could plot the high and low point. I can then use that formula to estimate what costs are going to be at other data points. So I hope that helps. Please don't forget to call or send me an email if you have any questions when you're doing your homework. Thank you.